Hey gang, it's me, Maddie, back again. Today I'm doing another marker review. This video has been in the making for I don't even know how long. I got these markers I think back in June or July, so it's been quite a long time of me editing this video, and it also took a while for me to do the final drawing, which you'll see in a bit, so let's stop wasting time and get on into the marker review. So I've split this into a few different categories of what I would rate each marker on. So I'm gonna start this off with the tips. These are double-ended markers like most alcohol-based markers are now. So one end is the bullet nib, and it's more of a pointy, thin nib if you don't know what a bullet nib is. A lot of markers have this as just a standard nib. And then the other is a chisel, which is in almost every marker I own. So specifically with these nibs, I really like them. They work really well. I usually don't care about marker tips. I know a lot of people do, but I'll just make do with whatever. I used to be very specific about them, but I've now just realized that it's just a marker. They'll still work either way. But anyway, so the bullet nib is really nice. I really like it. So it's not too thin or thick, which is an issue I see with a lot of bullet tip markers where there will be a really thick bullet nib or like a really thin one, and then it's hard to get into certain areas you need or something like that. So they're really good for outlining also, which is something I know a lot of people do like doing with colored outlines. I'm personally not that into it, but hey, whatever floats your boat. Onto the chisel nib. It's literally the most perfect chisel nib I probably own. I love the chisel. I use it all the time, even for small areas. It is like perfect. So it's very thick and blocky, which a lot of people probably do not like. I really like that because a lot of the time I'm drawing on bigger areas now, unlike I did when I was younger. I used to do smaller areas. The Copic one is super thin and not the best chisel nib in my personal opinion. It still gets in there, but I like this one so much more. Chisel nib is literally the best for large areas of color. I'm in love with it. Okay. Anyway, so it's also really easy to blend with both of these nibs. Specifically the chisel one, I love blending with it. Oh god, I love this chisel nib. Like, if you're getting anything about this video, if you're a fellow chisel nib fan, it's like the perfect chisel. And so on to the next category, which is ink quality. This is something that I personally am always caring about. I really think that ink quality is very important for the success of a marker or for it to work well on your certain drawing. So the ink qualities in this is really nice. I really like it. There's a few things that I would tweak a little bit, but it's pretty good overall. So the ink is not super dry, but it's also not super juicy. It's kind of in the middle ground. With like Copic markers, their ink is extremely juicy, and a lot of people really like that, where it's very like, there's a lot of ink and you don't have to saturate the paper that much to get out a lot of color. And these also aren't super dry. I don't know if I own any markers that have really dry ink, but some marker brands I've used in the past kind of do. Like the Artist Loft double-ended alcohol markers, though sometimes are a little dry for me, but hey, that might just be mine. The ink quality itself is super easy to blend. Like, as you'll see on the final drawing, like, it's so blended and nice, and I absolutely love it. Okay, so you can also easily achieve flat colors, which is something that is so important to me. I absolutely despise when a drawing looks any sort of streaky or anything. I hate it. I love a nice flat surface of color. And so that's really good with this ink quality. So layering is also very easy, which is a good and bad thing. If you like adding a lot of shading and stuff like that, that's great for this. But at the same time, if you're just trying to get down a flat area of color, if you go over the same spot too many times, it's gonna look patchy because there's different areas that have more ink on the paper. So that's something that might personally stick out to you if you buy these, but I personally do not care that much. Literally, now this is something that is so different than most markers I know. These work on like any paper, which is so weird to me. Like, I tried these on watercolor paper, they worked. which is not that surprising because thick paper usually works with markers. I tried these on really thin paper, like even like printer paper. They worked really good. I was like, damn, this is really nice. I also tried them on this paper that I'm using in the drawing. It's a thinner sketchbook paper, probably around 60 pounds, which is pretty thin, but they worked really nice. I really love that. They bleed pretty badly, which if you're someone who likes taking up a lot of, they're very like specific about your sketchbook and how it looks, that's not the best for you. But for me, who doesn't really care about the like aesthetic of my sketchbook, that is perfectly fine with me. I don't care. They also work with other markers, as you'll see in the drawing. I also use some of my Ohuhu brush markers, which if you haven't seen the review on that, I've done a review on those too. They worked really well with them, and they didn't even look like two different marker brands. Sometimes come across where you can tell which markers are which, but these looked really good. The next one, which is actually probably the most important to most people, is the price point. So I checked this on Amazon, I think maybe like 3 days ago, and it was $34.99 for 36 colors, which makes it at 97 cents per marker. Is such a steal for how great these markers are. That is so great. Most of the time, if you are newer to alcohol markers, a lot of the time, at the very least, they'll be like $2 per marker. So this is a really good price. It may sound like a lot, but for what you're paying for, it's really worth it. So this is something really unique about the markers, is their barrel. So they have a triangular thick barrel, which is so unusual for markers. It does not roll. It's very comfortable in your hand, which is something that's very important for me, because if you're drawing for hours and hours a day, at the end of the day, if your hand feels super cramped up and terrible, oh, it's just the worst. Something also pretty important to me, the lid doesn't fit on the back of the marker, which I'm so sad about. So that would make these literally perfect. I love it when you can put the back of the lid on the marker. Onto the actual like printing on it, it's very easy to read, very easy to see what color you're using. The caps match the color pretty well, so that's no problem for me. There's no color distinguisher on the back barrel, so it doesn't say what color you're using on the barrel. So if you take off the caps, you're just kind of like, best of luck to you to find the end. The actual barrel feels a little bit cheapy and plasticky, but that isn't a big deal for me. Some people might not like that, but that's no big deal for me. The next area I want to talk about is the actual brand, Arteza itself. So Arteza is a brand I've been hearing a lot about the last couple of years. I think they're relatively newer because I've been drawing for a long time and I'd never heard of them until like maybe last year or the year before that. So it's my first time trying this brand. I've been wanting to try some of their stuff. I've been following them on Instagram for a while, and I see a lot of people on YouTube especially that try their stuff and absolutely love it and stuff like that. So I wanted to try it out. Needless to say, I am pretty impressed with the brand itself. I was not a fan of the marker box that they came in. It was this really plasticky, it was literally just like a plastic sleeve that they kind of come in, which isn't that big of a deal. It's easy to store them in, but I keep on cutting myself on the plastic. So that might just be me. A lot of people said that their boxes came like broken or there was something wrong with them. A long time ago, apparently, whenever these markers were first being sold, they came in nice little mesh bags kind of thing. Their color pack of 60 like rainbow markers, those still come in the mesh box, so I might have to try those sometime to see what those are like. But anyway, that's really the only thing I noticed about the brand I'm not a big fan of as a first experience. I don't like the boxing, but really it doesn't matter. It's just a box to hold them in. It has nothing to do with the actual quality of the marker. So this is something I found very cool of the brand to do. I thought that was so cool of them. They have a money back guarantee on these where if you get a marker and it's dry or it's broken or there's just something wrong with it, like the color isn't right, something like that, you can literally send it back to them and they'll send you a new version of it. Isn't that the coolest thing? Especially with a brand where you can only buy online, because these are, I think, an Amazon only product. For them to have that guarantee is, I think, just so cool of them. That's really cool. I've never seen anything like that for a marker brand before. That's just cool. Sorry, that was just me geeking out over freaking art brand. Another thing that's kind of cool about these is that they are an American company, which is kind of cool, but I thought I'd just put it in there just in case anyone wanted to hear that. So colors. This is something, I'm so passionate about colors and color theory. I, in case you couldn't tell, bought the skin tone set because I am a artist who does mostly portraits and draws people. So the colors, there is a great range of colors. This is so inclusive and so great. Another thing that I find is kind of rare in skin tone sets, especially like ones from kind of smaller companies, I guess. Not that Arteza is a small company, but it's not as well known as like Copic or something like that. They have a lot of really light tones, they have a lot of medium tones, and then they also have a lot of dark tones. And then something kind of rare is that they have these blushy tones too, so that you can add some natural blush onto your characters, which is something I love. I love that so much. Anyway, another thing that I found was really cool, and my little color theory brain was like, this is so epic, was the fact that for a lot of their colors, they have different undertones, which is so cool. I love that. A lot of time with skin tone sets, especially in art supplies, they have all very neutral, like a peachy kind of undertone, like an orange undertone. I thought it was really cool that they have a lot of colors in here that have yellow and pink undertones. They even have some olive undertones, which is so cool. I love that. I hardly have any olive colored markers, but these ones, there is an olive tone, and I love that. There's just so much diversity, and it's just a great set overall with the colors that they include. On the undertones, of me once again geeking out over color theory, none of the colors were out of place, which is something kind of rare, especially in skin tones. Like, I know with the Ohuhu skin tone set, there's some colors in there that there is no way in hell that they could ever be used on anyone's skin. Like, there's some like very like highlightery yellows in there, but this set, I think every single color in here could be used on skin. Not that they could be a base for the skin color, but they have a sort of skin tone to them. So like there's some grays in here that you could use for some shadows, and there's pinks that you could use for blushes, and I just, yes, it is perfect. I love it. The selection of colors, by the way, they're all so vibrant and pretty. There's not one color in there where I'm like, ew, that color is gross, I don't like that color. Like, it's, all of them are very vibrant and saturated and just like gorgeous skin tones. I love them. So I think that's about it for this marker review of the part of the review for the markers. Overall, I love these. They are literally, I think, some of my new favorites. I don't know if under certain circumstances they're as good as Copic markers are, but for me personally, I like these skin tones more than the Copic skin tones, which is kind of a big thing, I guess, for me to say. But anyway, these are great. You should definitely buy them. If you're starting out, if you've been using markers for a long time, they're just great, and they're not that much of an investment for most people, because after all, they are only like $30-something. So especially if you're a beginning artist, I'd really recommend these. I haven't tried out any of their other sets or anything like that, so I haven't tried out their set with all of the like colors of the rainbow, and I haven't tried out their gray tone set, so I wouldn't know about those, but for the skin tone set, they are great. I love it. The drawing, I drew Tsubaki from Soul Eater. I was rewatching Soul Eater at the time of drawing this. That's about it for this marker review. These are really nice. If you have any questions or anything, you can leave them in the comments or something like that. If you like my video, you should watch some other ones. I have quite a few now on this channel, even though I don't post that often. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single view that you give. It's good. A good day? I don't know. Bye.
Killing the masses, killing the fool. Bitch, you know I am the murderous tool. Ready go kill you right out of his tomb. Choking you out and you'll hear the big boom. Devilish shit, drunk on a beach. Taking the stealing, finessing the hit.